Hi, my name is Simon Sanborn, and welcome back to the Count to 10 podcast. I am a behavior focused teacher who decided to start doing a podcast to help out my fellow teachers and anybody else who is working with people. And I mean working with people in the sense of if you're a parent, you're working with your kids on things. If you're a teacher, you're working with your students. But this is pretty much a podcast focused solely on how we communicate with each other and how best to interpret the behaviors that we see from others. It gives a deeper understanding, and I feel like understanding is kind of the key when it comes to how we relate to each other. And in our current world, it's very divided and very divisive, it seems like. So this podcast is kind of like a way to understand why people may act the way they act, respond the way they respond, good, bad, or otherwise, and just to develop some understanding. But my main focus today was what I thought would be the most important thing would be to kind of focus on renewal. As adults, we find times where we're overly stressed. Things are really kind of hitting the fan, so to speak, and it can be difficult to find our path in those moments. Not that those moments are normal. Those moments are part of what being a human being is, which is why it can be a struggle. We feel like we're isolated, we feel like we're alone, and we're the only ones going through these things. And that's just not true. We are all going through those things, and the more we can find common ground, the better off we can be. So I thought that I would say the psychcentral.com is a wonderful website. A lot of the things I talk about on this podcast have to do with how we are caring for ourselves, because we've all we got, and the more we can understand how we work and how we think and how we process, the better. I've had a couple of therapy sessions with my therapist that have changed my perspective to the point where it's relieved a tremendous amount of stress just to understand better about how I'm thinking about things. And this podcast, I do kind of promote and talk about a lot of different things, but they're just ideas. They're just perspectives, and they're only there to give you a tool or maybe an idea of a place to go to find more tools. So even though I do this podcast and I have lots of suggestions and ideas, doesn't mean you have to do them. They're just that. They're just available for you. And sometimes we don't feel like we need anything, and that's great. If life is moving along awesome, that's fantastic. I just know that there are times where my life's working and going along just fine, but I bump into something, or I have a stressful day at work, or I have a stressful moment at home. Anything like that can add that more pressure on top of you. So that renewal is a big thing. And as for and for teachers, we made it through this week. It's the first week back from Christmas break. That adjustment period for everybody, teachers, students, parents, the kids are finally getting back into school, getting back into the groove. So it can be an adjustment for anybody to kind of figure out their path. Getting back into the rhythm of our day-to-day lives can be kind of tough. So that renewal thing for me is a big one. I took a lot of time over the holiday break to try to find moments of peace, meditation, going for a lot more walks. I started realizing that a lot of things that I did during the break are easily done during regular school time. I don't have to have an open entire day to get outside and go for a walk. And as we hit the cold weather, it'll be more difficult, but I do think that getting outside and getting for a walk, even if it's around the block, some fresh air, even if it's bitterly cold, can be really beneficial. I have some people I work with that every morning, no matter what, they are out, they go for a walk in the morning, and it helps them kind of center themselves, get their heads on straight for the day, that kind of thing. So I thought that was really important. And I wanted to, I promote teachers a lot on this podcast because teachers do an amazing job of not just educating students, but they are constantly educating them in lots of areas. So it's not just reading, writing, and math. It's social emotional learning, how to get along with other people, work in groups, work in teams. And as we know, or I should say, if you don't know, most businesses now, one of the main things they're looking for, is how do you work with others? A lot of the jobs we have out in the world nowadays, you have to be interacting with people on a constant basis. And that's all I do all day long is pretty much communicate with people. So it's a continuous thing. You might have a job, that where you're isolated and you don't have a lot of communication with people, but overall, we're always having to talk to people and find adjustments and have conversations I think, with coworkers and things. So finding that time and to renew also allows you to communicate better. And communication to me is just kind of the key to everything. If we can't find ways to communicate with each other in a productive manner, then that's when things get a little sketchy, and we don't listen very well. And the not listening is probably one of the bigger things that I focus on. I had a friend talk to me this last week during break about communication and how we talk to each other. And I just do a lot of active listening. It's I try really hard to do it on a regular basis in almost every conversation that I have, to be really actively listening to what the concerns are, or be really present if somebody's telling me about something really awesome that's happening, or if somebody's talking about something that's really hard. Me trying to always kind of practice that skill makes me feel a lot better because I'm more present in what's in the exchange that's going on. And even if I have a conversation with somebody where we have a disagreement, or we see, we kind of agree to disagree, at least I understand their perspective, they understand my perspective, and the interaction wasn't a bad one in the sense that we're upset, angry, frustrated, that kind of thing. We both walk away feeling better than when we first started the conversation, for the most part. No conversation's perfect, but... and then I just, teachers have a really hard job, and, in Iowa right now, teachers are kind of, being put under the thumb of, our state government, and it feels like teachers are really struggling right now, and they just kind of got, the boot on their neck, for a lack of a better term. So as hard as they're working, as tough as things are right now, above us in our with our administration at the governor level, has been kind of tough. It feels like public schools are kind of the group that's easy to pick on right now. And I have always been a big union person, but I do understand the flaws that are in unions. So I take it with a grain of salt, all of it. So I understand some of the pressures that are involved at the high administrative level, but the people who are boots on the ground every single day in schools can only use more support. They can only use more positive things that they hear in the media. They can only use more thoughtfulness. That's pretty much my main takeaway on it, is that we want to be able to make sure that the people that we've put into positions of educating our students on a day-to-day basis, for the most part, and trying to help them learn multiple things, not just one thing. I've had lots of people say, "Oh, it's not that hard to be a teacher," and I said, "Just come on in and you can observe what I do all day long." I am sure there's a general education teacher that would be happy to show the amount of effort that goes into what looks like a very easy lesson that's being given, a wonderful lesson that's being given, required a tremendous amount of effort and understanding on that teacher's part to be able to have it come across that way, so that students can hear it and learn and listen. So be nice to your students, teachers, and their administrations and their buildings. Everybody is here for one thing, and that is the success of students. And that's all that really matters to us. We really believe that what we're doing is helping, and we're trying our best to make sure that they understand and walk away from our classrooms day to day with a deeper understanding of things that they can do, and things that they can change, and how they can always get better and do wonderful things in this world, because that's what we're doing. We are producing adults someday. So I know I do, and I know a lot of teachers that I work with take that very, very seriously. So give a teacher a pat on the back sometime if you see him. All right, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for giving me your time. It means a lot to me to know that people watch this and appreciate it, and that they get something from it. You can always get a hold of me. My name is Simon Sanborn. You can contact me at Simon, S-Y-M-O-N, period, Sanborn, S-A-N-B-O-R-N, at gmail.com. Any questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts, I am more than happy to walk through those. I've gotten some in the past. But it is a new year. It's 2023, and I'm pretty excited to see how this year goes and to see how the podcast kind of progresses too. Like I said, I'm kind of focusing more on communication than I am just specifically on teachers and students and how to understand behaviors, because we're all in this boat together, and the more we can understand each other and communicate clearly, the better off we're going to be. So thanks so much again for your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, day, wherever you're at. Thanks.